So I've been working on a long-term project about Ruby that is slowly but surely ruining my life, and as a result, I've fallen back down the Rooster Teeth rabbit hole. I'm rewatching shows like RTAA and X-Ray and Vav. Always Open has quickly become one of my favorite podcasts, and Trocadero will more than likely be my most streamed artist on Spotify this year.
This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are unfolding currently.
This descent into madness has been both comforting and frustrating. Rooster Teeth was a childhood fixation of mine. I was a first member for nearly half a decade. I'm well versed in this company's content library. So imagine my surprise when I got an ad for a show I'd never heard of before. I found myself asking a really important question. What the fuck is Nomad of Nowhere?
Ah, shit!
Nomad of Nowhere is a 2D animated web series created by Jordan Whitman and directed by Jordan Sweets. All 12 existing episodes aired in 2018, with a 4-month hiatus taking place between episodes 6 and 7. The series is based on Whitman's college short film, Sir Knight of Nothing, and follows a mute magical scarecrow as he wanders through a western fantasy world. There's also an evil king named Elray, 3 anti-capitalist sidekicks, and a pair of very angsty sapphics. In other words, this show was tailor-made for me. So why did it take me 5 years to discover its existence? Well, for starters, the show's marketing campaign sucked.
What's up, everyone? If you want some more cool animation, go check out Nomad of Nowhere. It's on roosterteeth.com.
Yeah,
Go do it.
it's got clapping.
What else has got?
Rocks with faces.
And
Some people got guns.
do they sound like pew pew?
Sure.
Is that seriously the best description you could come up with?
Howdy, Dunderheads. It's me, a real good impressionist scout. I'm here to let you know you can watch new episodes of Nomad of Nowhere at roosterteeth.com. Ain't that right, Nomad? Yeah, what he said.
Did they just hand Carrie Shawcross a cardboard cutout and a camera and decide that was sufficient advertising? Rooster Teeth also released an official teaser trailer for the series in February of 2018 at RTX. In Sydney, Australia. Compare this to Genlock's relentless marketing campaign. If you were a Rooster Teeth fan at the time, you couldn't go 5 minutes without getting an ad for Grey Haddock's pet project. 30-second previews were embedded into nearly every new video uploaded to Rooster Teeth's website. This was particularly infuriating for Ruby and Red vs. Blue fans because these ads artificially inflated the runtime of episodes that barely averaged 14 minutes in length. Genlock was inescapable, but a shared commonality between these two ad campaigns is their general vagueness. Neither collection of commercials succeeded in explaining what these shows were actually about, and this failure to deliver an adequate premise carried over into other media interviews. In January of 2018, Collider published an article about Rooster Teeth's upcoming animation slate that included several quotes from Jordan Sweets. Think of Nomad of Nowhere, he said, as 2 parts Samurai Jack and True Grit with just a dash of the Lord of the Rings. Is his description accurate?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, no.
I wouldn't compare this show to any of those IPs. It's more of a silly but sincere Saturday morning cartoon with good vibes and hints of a deeper story. The Nomad is one of the last known magic users in Nowhere, and hasn't been seen in nearly a century. Elray branded him an outlaw and promised a hefty reward to whomever captured the quote-unquote dreaded Nomad. Several bounty hunters and a deranged undertaker try to apprehend him, but the Nomad continues to evade capture thanks to the goodwill of the people and creatures he helps along the way. His most persistent pursuant is Captain Toth, the leader of Don Paragon's Dandelions and the object of Scout's affections.
Toth's in charge because she's the best and everyone knows it.
Scout is essentially the show's deuteragonist. She's a skilled but underconfident spittoon girl who advocates for the Nomad's benevolence, but her opinions are generally ignored by the rest of the cast. Toth, in particular, can't afford to care about the Nomad's true nature. Capturing him is the only way she can help her people, the Idala, so she doesn't dwell on the situation's moral quandaries. This conflict culminates in the penultimate episode.
I know your heart's in the right place, Toth, and I want to help you, but this can't be the way.
Forgive my phrasing, but their disagreement prompts a lot of interesting questions about what it means to live in a society. Toth is trying to abide by the existing laws and power structures in hopes that Elray will reward her efforts. Scout thinks this course of action is futile. If the king wanted to do good, he would have done it by now. She chooses instead to forge a path outside of the legal limitations. It's a risk that might ultimately result in her punishment, but she'd rather follow the Nomad because he's a beacon of hope in an otherwise barren wasteland. Neither stance is inherently incorrect. It's hard to help anyone from the inside of a jail cell, But historically speaking, human rights don't get expanded because people nicely asked their oppressors to stop mistreating them.
What did I tell you, Jethro? The sordid cycle of generational poverty only begets violence.
El Rey restricts his people's ability to access magic. He hoards most of it for himself and hunts down any remaining witches and wizards who could dare oppose him. He appoints 4 governors to maintain his kingdom's order. These select few individuals are deemed worthy of wielding great power, and people like Don Paragon aspire to join this exclusive oligarchy. The Oasis is a microcosm of Nowhere's greater issues. The Dawn escalates El Rey's ruling philosophy to its worst possible extreme. He uses a reservoir to restrict his people's access to water, creating a codependent system where compliance becomes synonymous with survival. It's a tale as old as time. People with power will actively undermine your ability to make informed choices by limiting the number of things you can control, so rebellion becomes a luxury few can afford.
It's like I always say, Jethro. Hurting people hurt people.
Let's talk about Jordan Whitman's open letter. Whitman left Rooster Teeth halfway through Nomad of Nowhere's initial airing, citing creative differences with the company. On October 16, 2022, he posted a link to the following statement on his Twitter account titled, "My Time at RT." The document is worth reading in its entirety, but for the sake of brevity, here are some of the most notable quotes. "During my time at Rooster Teeth, a group of people destroyed my hopes and dreams in front of me. Gray Haddock, Jordan Sweets, and Maggie Tomini were all partially responsible. I had zero control on anything. I felt detached entirely from my creation. It took me so long to go to HR because I didn't want to lose my job or be hated for it permanently. On the day I left, a party was thrown for Nomad of Nowhere airing. I wasn't invited and was quickly rushed out. If I said anything bad that happened to me, my name would be taken off the show. Rooster Teeth is a giant clique of friends who cast others out who are beneath them." Almost every aspect of Jordan's letter can be corroborated with outside sources. Fellow YouTuber Cal Axon documented Gray Haddock's mismanagement of animators in the video "Genlock Should Have Never Been Made, Rooster Teeth Employee Interviews." Haddock also reallocated parts of Nomad's funding to cover the exorbitant production costs of his own show, yet he still managed to go over budget. Dozens of former employees have spoken out about RT's horrible crunch culture, and as of June 2023, negative reviews are still being posted on Glassdoor.com, most of which allude to the unapproachable hierarchy outlined in this open letter. Even direct quotes from Jordan Sweets confirm parts of Whitman's story, albeit unintentionally. In January of 2018, Sweets said the following: "We've developed a beautiful art style to showcase the unique setting of Nowhere, an unforgiving and harsh landscape home to fantastic creatures and a diverse cast of characters. And of course, our kick-ass animation team is going to make it the best-looking 2D show you'll ever see."
You sure about that? You sure about that?
2 months later, he told Collider, "The story Jordan wanted to tell was an interesting one, but we wanted to shift the setting to make it more unique. We really needed to make sure we gave the background development a lot of attention. So we spent a lot of time looking at inspiration for the background art, going through everything from art books from Disney and Studio Ghibli to graphic novels and video games." He also compared the show to Trigun for good measure.
Your mouth is talking, you might want to look to that.
Compare this to the following excerpts from Whitman's letter. "It began with not getting an art director for the show, even though I was promised we'd have one before the show started. That's right, this entire show had no art direction. The first meeting had books laid out on the table, and they were feature film Ghibli art books. What made it into the show was all the pre-story work, concept art, and world building I did for free on my own time." Now, I'm no expert here, but animated shows desperately need art directors. They're responsible for overseeing a project's visual style and ensuring that the final product is cohesive. Nomad of Nowhere lacks this sense of focus. The designs are cute, if not inconsistent and cheap-looking. Characters often look out of place in the environments, and the cartoonish elements don't gel with the more realistic set pieces. The animators are not at fault for these discrepancies. The blame lies solely with the higher-ups who mismanaged Nomad's production from day one. Also, remember that 4-month hiatus I mentioned earlier? Yeah, that was because the overworked animators wouldn't be able to meet the company's ridiculous deadlines.
Ow! Another victim of bureaucracy!
When I set out to make this miniseries, I just wanted to highlight 4 shows that got unfairly canceled. I was not prepared for a pit of despair to swallow me whole! Nomad of Nowhere hasn't officially been canceled, but its future is certainly bleak. On July 11th, 2020, Miles Luna revealed on an episode of the Talk Crew to Me podcast that writer Kiersey Burkhart originally joined Rooster Teeth to work on Nomad's second season. They got pretty far along in the development process, but production was paused because it was decided that continuing the series was not advisable at the time. Jordan Sweets later explained in a Tumblr post that Rooster Teeth doesn't cancel its own shows. But after the company's restructuring in 2018, production became a collaborative decision rather than an independent one. This post's primary function was to dispel rumors about Sweets' own show, Camp Camp, but he also stated that the same technicalities applied to Nomad of Nowhere. As of August 2023, the show is still in stasis, but new episodes of Camp Camp have been slated for 2024, so anything is possible. But should we even want more Nomad of Nowhere? Don't get me wrong, I really like this show, and I would love to see it get a second chance, but that second chance would always be tainted for me. Nomad of Nowhere was essentially stolen from its creator, and after releasing such a scathing letter, I doubt that any new installments would even keep Whitman's name on the project. This isn't your typical death of the author scenario. Audience interpretation isn't what killed Jordan's version of the story. A meddling production studio run by incompetent bullies denied Whitman's vision the right to simply exist. As depressing as this story may be, there is slight cause for optimism. Sweets and Tammany are still employed by Rooster Teeth, but Gray Haddock left the company in 2019. The official story is that he stepped down from his position as head of RT Animation, but it's heavily implied that he was forced to resign.
Bye, bitch!
Unfortunately, it seems like Rooster Teeth is still upholding the tradition of not valuing its creators. Trocadero won't be composing the score for Red vs. Blue's final season despite their more than reasonable terms. A fish rots from the head down, and Gray Haddock was far from the company's only problem. Jordan Whitman has spent the past few years working on an animated pilot titled Port by the Sea. From what I've read, he's extremely proud of this project, and it should be released sometime later this year. I look forward to watching it. IMDb also lists Elizabeth Maxwell as one of the lead actresses, which is noteworthy because she provided the voice for Scout.
Thanks, friend.
If you do want to watch Nomad of Nowhere, you can do so for free on YouTube, the Roku channel, and Peacock, of all places. The show is still charming despite everything that happened behind the scenes, and a lot of good people worked really hard to produce these 12 episodes. Their efforts shouldn't be forgotten. To once again quote Whitman, "Always fight for your worth and your ideas. Hold on to them, and if something does move forward, know what you're fighting for, and give it your all."